Hello. Welcome back. Okay. I wanted to hop on here. I feel like I say okay at the first of these a lot. I do it on my lives too. I've started to notice. But I I hope you can't hear like all the landscapers are out there. This is like a whole new world to me. Landscapers. Um they're out there like trimming all the bushes, but they've gone away from the ones that were by the window and I have just really been feeling very on fire lately and wanting to record these things. And I really have been just feeling this pull to record this episode for some reason. And the title, Stop Trying to Please Mom and Dad. So I wanted to speak to that because this is a learned behavior. This is something that we learn as children to please our parents, right? So we eat our peas and our mom and dad clap for us, and we pee on the potty and our mom and dad clap for us, and all of this stuff. And so we learn to like kind of keep mom and dad happy. And then as we're doing that, we're also learning, oh, well, we can keep other people happy too. And so I don't know where my people pleasers are, but I am a recovering people pleaser over here. And I wanted to speak to this because this is something that I suffered with. suffered with. Um, this is something I struggled with for a really, really long time. And the fear of judgment got really deep for me. And it's really taught to us from a very young age, and just going to school, pleasing your teachers, right? Getting good grades, it makes your teachers happy. When you're a good student, your teachers are happy. And I wanted to speak to this in the sense that we also do this to manage other people's emotions. So if you have ever looked at like, why do you do things that keep mom and dad happy? One, I think it's to like avoid the repercussions of how they're going to respond. But two, it's like there's this sense of guilt or that we feel bad because we don't want to let them down. And something that I have really started to teach my kids is do what you want to do in life and never be afraid to disappoint me. And then I always like put in that like nuance, right? Like, but don't do drugs. Don't be dumb. But oh my gosh, I'm sorry if you can hear all of those. They've moved back over here. But so I've shared that with my kids, like, but don't do drugs, don't do that, but do what you want in life. Create a life that you desire. I don't expect you to do the exact same things as me. I don't expect you to be a straight A student. I don't. We have expectations in our home, even around grades. Anything below a C, there's consequences. My girls lose their phones until their grades come back up. And it'll be the same for my younger two. They're not quite, I mean, they're in elementary school still. So we're not quite there yet. But I think that there's like two things that play into this wanting to please our parents. And I think the one is the wanting to keep them happy, wanting to do this. But I think the second one is it's this, we're still kind of connected to our parents, right? And so if we let them down, if we upset them, then we think that now we have a problem to fix. That's ours to fix. And so I have done an episode a little while ago about stop picking up other people's shit. That is what this is all about, because when we speak our truth, when we share our story, when we are doing what we are doing, it is not our job if we upset somebody else. It is not our job to pick up those emotions, to apologize, to try to fix it. If you are sharing your experience, now obviously we're not going out and like bashing people. He's right outside my window. We're not going out and like bashing people and setting an intention to hurt people. But when you are sharing your experience and you're sharing your story and you're doing what you love and that upsets other people, you have to be so sure in knowing who you are and what you're about and what your intentions are behind it, even if other people don't understand it. And when you are so firm in your conviction of like knowing yourself and knowing that your intentions were good, and you are just trying to help somebody else who has gone through something similar or had a similar experience, then you have no explaining to do. You don't need to explain yourself to anybody. You don't need to try to fix it. You do not need to apologize. You have done nothing wrong. And I think that when this guilt creeps in, when people get upset with what we're doing, it's because guilt comes in when we feel like we're doing something wrong. And then we shrink ourselves again and we kind of like go back in our little cave, go back in our little hole because we don't want to deal with it. And here's the thing. You don't have to deal with it. You don't have to explain yourself. Now, if you have done something wrong or you have intentionally hurt somebody or you have said something that offended somebody or whatever, like you can use your own best judgment on when an apology is necessary, right? But for me, I have shared experiences and I've had people reach out and say, I've been it's some of your posts have made me like feel bad. And I just tell them it's never my intention to make you feel bad. I'm just sharing my journey. I'm just sharing like my journey along the way. So I never have this intention to make anybody feel bad or mad or whatever it is. I just share my journey because I know I'm not alone. And I think that a lot of times we in our homes, we kind of suffer silently. And I think that women do this to ourselves a lot more than men do. We are afraid to share our experiences because we think that we are the only one going through it and it's really hard. And you are not. Most everything that anybody has gone through, somebody else has gone through it with you. Not with you, but you know what I mean. Um so we get to write our own permission slip. We get to stop trying to please mom and dad. And I heard this podcast episode the other day by Catherine Zankina, and she was talking about the only two people that you need to get the approval of or make happy or something like that was 5-year-old version you. Oh, the 5-year-old version of you who used to dream big. And then the 80-year-old version of you, you get to give her big stories to tell. And that really hit me hard because when I look at 5-year-old version of me, I mean, I didn't have like a super simple childhood. Um, and so when I look at the abuse and things like that that happened both in and outside of my home, that version of me didn't think that she could get where I am right now. She had big dreams. She really did. She had these really, like, really big, oh, I'm yawning, these really big dreams. And she wanted to live this big life and she wanted to make a lot of money and she wanted to be able to like live a life that she didn't have and always dreamed of. And so, of course, we want to make that version of us proud too, right? And then what stories do you want to give that 80-year-old version you to tell? And so when we start to live from that space, I don't know, maybe it like doesn't resonate with you quite like it resonates with me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, when we start to live from that space and when we start to open ourselves up to a world full of possibilities, what could happen? And so that's what I want to invite you to do today is I want you to just sit down for a second and pull out a notebook. And I want you to ask yourself, where in your life are you living it for somebody else? Where in your life are you living it for your mom and dad or your mom or whoever? Where are you playing small? Where are you choosing things based on other people's approval? And why are you doing that? Maybe ask yourself, like, why are you doing that? What are you afraid of? Write down all those fears because when we really write down our fears on paper, we learn that they have no power. They're actually just words floating around in our mind. So when we get them out on paper and we look at them, they seem a little sillier. So write them out on paper, write out all your fears, write what you want to do instead. What do you want to do instead? If you're living this way for mom and dad or whoever, what do you want to shift that to? So that you can start living that for yourself. Why do you want to do it? Like, why do you want to do it your way? Why do you want to shift that? And then I want you to pick one thing to change. Just pick one thing. This is where the problem comes in. I mean, it's October. We're creeping up on January, right? Like New Year's resolutions are going to start coming into play. People are going to start talking about those come December. But we're not going to do a complete overhaul of our life. We want to pick one thing. So just pick one thing. One thing that you have just been like wanting that external validation from mom and dad about, let that go. I want you to do it your way. And I want you to stop trying to please mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, whoever you're trying to please, right? Your friends back in high school. Let's stop looking for approval from everybody else. And I want you to go within and I want you to search for that approval within yourself. And then I want you to shift one thing in your life into something that feels good. And I will talk to you next time.